Education Center. Today we're doing carbs, video 2. All right, today we're gonna get a little more detail talking about different types of carbs, whether it's quickly broken down into glucose and pushed into your body, or not so quickly and gives us a more sustained level of energy, all right? So let's kick right into it. Historically, the comparison has been simple versus complex carbs. So simple carbs being they're broken down very quickly, they're pushed into your body to give you that energy immediately, but it probably won't last very long. And then complex carbs, broken down to glucose not so fast, and then give you a little more sustained energy for a duration, okay? So this has been the historical thought, but now as technology has evolved, science has continued to improve, we've actually moved towards measuring with the glycemic index. So a little more detailed measurement of how fast foods are processed in the body, how fast carbs are turned to glucose, and then able to be digested and used for those energy sources that we talked about in video 1. Okay, and it was actually found that some foods that we thought would be one way or the other on the glycemic index, so a low glycemic index, actually went more complex or faster than we originally thought. So this is a much more detailed way to measure the effect of carbs on your body, and there's definitely detailed list online that you should check out, and we'll link up in the notes here of the video. So the glycemic index, it measures how fast we go from carbs ingested, converted to glucose, and then put in the body for those uses we talked about in video 1. So your low glycemic index is going to be your slow absorption foods, which in turn equal a low insulin response. So we haven't talked about it yet in the video, but insulin is a hormone pushed into the body to control the sugar levels in your blood, etc. So for a low GI, we have a lower insulin response, so a more sustained energy and better levels of glucose in your body across a longer duration of time. All right, so sustained energy. Now, high glycemic index, fast absorption, high insulin response, which means that rush of energy, but can also mean the crash. We've all been there where we've had a sugary drink or maybe a very high carb, high glycemic index meal. We feel great, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you've got the midday, need for a nap, you feel awful, you have mood swings, you're hungry already. That's because you had very high glycemic index foods, and you had that rush of carb intake, rush of sugars in the body, but then also you had that rush of insulin that leads to the crash in your body, all right? And can even lead to a low blood sugar, which is a side effect or the cause of that, lull in energy, okay? So now we kind of understand low glycemic, high glycemic, kind of the makeup of that. Let's talk about some foods that are gonna fall into those categories. So low glycemic is gonna be most of your veggies, some fruit. Obviously there's some fruit out there that has a ton of sugar, and those wouldn't be so low in the glycemic index. But apples, oranges, grapes, those are gonna fall in the category. Pasta, gonna be low glycemic, which you maybe wouldn't think, but you have to make sure you be careful not to overcook the pasta, because it can change the makeup and move it towards more of a high glycemic. Your brown rice, oats, and then sweet potato are definitely some other ones. Now, going on to your high glycemic, obviously your sugars, your breads, your candy, puff cereal, potatoes, any instant food, corn chips, flake cereals, peas, carrots. A common trend, not in all of these, but a lot of them you can see, is going to be processed foods. Foods that typically aren't as good for you, your sugars, your white breads, candy. We should know those aren't going to be the best choices. Yes, they are carbs, and there's a time and a place where those can be used and manipulated to get you good results for performance, weight loss, etc. But for the whole, the common trend is foods you wouldn't associate with general health or natural clean eating. So keep that in mind, all right? So there's definitely more detailed list online. We'll link some up in the notes here. But if you are gonna eat these, some tips to do to lower the glycemic index. Yes, you can actually manipulate the glycemic index by adding protein, fiber, and fat. What these do is slow down the speed at which these foods are processed and then flushed into the muscles, fat storage that we talked about. So if you can't get away from eating some of these, if you add protein, lots of fiber, or you add fat, which are all slow to be digested, slow to be processed, they're all gonna mix together in the stomach, and the effect, that rush and then trough of energy, is gonna be a little bit less dramatic. Okay, so you guys can keep those in mind. Future video, the next video, we're gonna talk about how to manipulate carb timing, and then a follow-on video, we're gonna talk about carb cycling to get you the best result for your goals within eating your carbs. All right, episode 2, post your questions and comments, and we'll be back.